We've got something very special for you. Joe Vitale and myself, Steve G. Jones, we are going to interview each other. We are going to ask each other questions and get some detailed answers. We are going to ask the questions that you have, the questions about wealth, how to create it, how to maintain it, how we created it, some of our success stories. We are going to share with you all of our secrets concerning generating wealth so you can go from where you are now to where you want to be. So, without any delay, we're going to jump right in now as Joe and I ask each other the questions that are going to reveal the answers that you need in order to create wealth.
So Steve, what are your daily habits for establishing a positive mindset?
Great question. My daily habits for establishing a positive mindset are fairly detailed. I think that I've taken a lot into consideration over the years. So one of the main things that I do is affirmations. I believe in affirmations. A lot of people put affirmations down. I mean, let's face it, they were made fun of on Saturday Night Live, where they had an actor saying, you know, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. That was a skit that was done a while back. And sometimes, for other reasons, people put affirmations down, saying, well, you know, they're not powerful enough and it's just words after all. But if you think about it, if you really get into the details of an affirmation, you realize that everything that's happened to a person, everything has to do with affirmations, the things they tell themselves. And those things are usually based on things that people told them, telling them that maybe they won't amount to much, or they won't go very far, or they won't do this, or they won't do that, or they shouldn't do this, or they shouldn't do that. Well, those things get in their head. They become affirmations. Even worse, they become part of someone's life. They become their life script. So affirmations, those little things that we tell ourselves, are really what's driving everything. And it happens, as you know, at a subconscious level. So what I do is I create affirmations for myself, and I'm very specific about the way I do them. I take a black Sharpie pen, you know, one of those permanent pens, and I write on my mirror in my bathroom, the mirror I'm going to see when I get up in the morning and before I go to bed at night. I write the 3 affirmations that I'm going to be working on. Usually for about a week I'll work on them. But I always state them in the positive. I state them as if they've already happened. It's going on, and I make them very succinct. I make them very straightforward. I avoid long, convoluted, detailed affirmations. So, for example, I would say something such as, I am very focused. That's just a general affirmation that I could put up there. I am very focused. It doesn't say I'm going to be very focused. It doesn't say I might be kind of focused. It's very positive. It's very short, to the point. It's as if it's already going on. So I think that's very important, because when you take an affirmation and you analyze it and you look at it and you look at the components of it, you have to realize that you're programming your subconscious mind for something. And if you're programming your subconscious mind for something in the future, well, when does the future come? For example, if I were to say, I will be very focused. Well, that's nice, but if my subconscious mind is always programmed that it will be very focused, then it's always something out in the future. If I feel as though when I'm writing it that I'm not focused, and that's why I'm writing it, so I can get focused, and I feel as if, well, maybe I shouldn't write I am very focused, because after all, it's my affirmation, that's what I want to work on. I've got to realize that my subconscious mind doesn't understand all of that. All my subconscious mind understands is what it takes in. And so I needed to take in something as if it's already happened. So if you have a financial goal, for example, let's say you have a goal of having $100,000 in the bank, or $10,000 in the bank, or $5,000 in the bank, whatever your goal may be. If you write down, I have $10,000 in my savings account, that's a very helpful affirmation. Although you may not, when you look at it, your subconscious mind becomes programmed over time, over consistent exposure to it, becomes programmed to recognize that as reality. Now, your subconscious mind doesn't have the ability to think, that's not reality yet. I wonder when that will be reality. All your subconscious mind has the ability to do is to take that in as reality. Now, what happens when you take something in as reality? I have $10,000 in the bank, and you actually don't have $10,000 in the bank. What happens there? Is there a disconnect? Is there a short fuse? No. What happens is your subconscious mind starts to look for ways to make that reality, starts to look for opportunities to make that reality. Because your subconscious mind is just programmed that there's this amount of money in the bank. And you can clearly look at the bank statement and see if that's reality or not. If it's not, your subconscious mind starts to move toward that, to make that reality, to make the two sync up. So that's the power of stating something, even if it's not your reality yet. That's the power of stating something as if it's already happened. And the more specific you are, the better. Now, when I say something such as, I want to be focused, maybe there's something I want to focus on. Maybe I want to focus on doing something specific. Maybe I want to be focused on a project that will generate wealth. Maybe I want to be focused on helping people in a specific way to generate wealth. The more specific you are with your affirmation, the more likely you are to have success with it, the more easy it becomes for your subconscious mind to make it happen. The thing that I do every day to establish a positive mindset for myself is I change negative thoughts into positive thoughts. And what does that mean? How do you change a negative thought into a positive thought? Well, we all, myself included, we all have negative thoughts from time to time. We all have things that come up and we think, well, I wish I hadn't said that to myself. You know, one of the things that still from time to time comes up in my mind is, you idiot. I'll say that to myself. I'll call myself an idiot. And I get that from my childhood. You know, every now and then my dad would say that to me. He'd say, you idiot. You know, he was a very loving person. He cared a lot about me, but every now and then he'd see me do something that he thought was idiotic in his mind. So he'd say that. Well, now I say that to myself. You know, I do something that's something that I meant to do a different way, but I didn't do it quite right. And I'll say, you idiot. So that's something that is still there, but I've learned to counteract that by catching it. You know, I'll catch myself saying that and I'll hear myself saying it and I will reframe it. I have to change that negative thought into a positive thought. And so I change it to something along the lines of, well, I did something that wasn't quite the way I meant to do it, but I'm getting better every day. And so when you change something negative into something positive, you want to change it like that. You catch it and you rephrase it to the way you really meant it. Because I really didn't mean, when I said that, when I say that to myself in that moment, I don't mean that I'm an idiot. I don't mean that everything that I do is something that is done in an idiotic way, if you will. What I mean is that one thing that I did was something that I didn't mean to do. That's what it actually means. I shouldn't have done it that way. And I also, in that moment, fully believe that I do know how to do it the quote-unquote right way or a better way. So I capture all of that when I'm reframing this, when I'm stating it in a positive way. I catch myself and I say something along the lines to myself in my own mind. I say, what's actually happening is that I didn't do this the way that I meant to do it, but I'm getting better and better at it all the time. And very soon I will do it perfectly well. So I have caught myself and I have reframed it to what I actually meant to say, to what that actually means. Because when that was originally said to me, that negative thought was originally planted in my mind, that's not what my father meant. He didn't mean that everything that I do falls under that category. What he meant was that, you know, I had better hopes for you, son. I had a thought that you would actually do that better, and you kind of let me down a little bit there. You kind of disappointed me. I hope that you do better from now on. That's what he meant. So I capture the intention of that. Now, some people have negative thoughts in their mind from people who really did have negative intentions, people who wanted to beat them down, perhaps a former spouse or maybe a brother or sister or a parent or an aunt or an uncle or a teacher, someone who really didn't believe in that person and really just wanted to knock them down. And people who are in that category really struggle with this because they have all these negative thoughts from that person or those groups of people who really wanted to hold them back and who really didn't have positive intentions for them at all. That can be a little bit more challenging, but using the same technique, the same technology, you can catch what you're saying to yourself. And think about it now, you're just playing the tape in your head. They're no longer in your lives, more than likely. Hopefully not, if they're very negative people. You're just catching what they've said and playing it over and over. So they don't exist. So you can change that to mean anything you want. So in those cases, you have to catch yourself saying that and dismiss that as their opinion, as their idea, as something that they said because they were jealous of you, for example. They wanted to slow you down. And then reframe that to reality, which is you are a wonderful, powerful, amazing person. You're getting better every day. You're moving forward. Things that make sense to you in terms of moving forward and getting to where you want to be. The daily habit that I have for establishing positive wealth is knowing what I want to attract every day. Some people just go through lives without a plan at all. I remember being with a friend of mine, and we were riding around, and I said, in a car, and I said, we need a plan for later on. We need to figure out what we're going to do later on. And she said to me, well, I never plan. I just don't make a plan. And it was in that moment that I looked back on her life and what she had accomplished, and not to be offensive or anything along those lines, but it all started to make sense because she had these ideas and these goals, but she hadn't reached them at the age in her early 30s. And I realized at that point, wow, a lack of a plan, even a daily plan, really adds up and can add up to a lifetime of not getting where you want to be. And this is a person with clear goals. She had clear goals in her mind of what she wanted to be and what she wanted to do. She wanted to be an actress and an artist. And there were attempts being made, but there was never a daily plan to accomplish that. And so I realized in that moment that a daily plan is so very important. You have to know what you want to attract every day. Otherwise, you will not get what you want. Also, worse than that, one of the dangers of not having a plan is that you will then be subject to other people's plans. Other people have ideas, and you may not like their ideas, but you may just go along with their ideas because you don't have a better plan. Have you ever been in a situation like that, where you're perhaps in a car with someone and the idea comes up of what to do later? Well, you have some ideas of what you like and what you don't like, but you don't express those ideas, and you end up doing what they want to do or what a group of people wants to do, and you kind of go along with it. Have you been in that type of situation? I don't get in those types of situations because I express what I want to do, and I avoid the things that don't interest me, that I'm not fully invested in, because I don't want to be a bum on a log. I don't want to be just along for the ride. I don't want to bring everyone down. If I'm there, I'm there. It's part of my plan. Even if I came up with it with a group, at least I was invested in it. So you see how important that is? That's very important that you have a plan every day. You have a plan for what you're going to do for that day. So you have to know what you want to attract every day. Every day I want to attract abundance in my life. And that's not just wealth, that's all kinds of things. So sometimes I want to attract the opportunity to be on a TV show because I feel that it will help to spread the word about hypnosis. Sometimes I want to attract the opportunity to work with someone. Sometimes I want to attract the opportunity to save more money, to look for ways to save more money. Sometimes I want to attract the opportunity to look for ways to invest money in projects that I believe in, projects that are going to help people, and projects that are going to also bring back money to me. So these are the types of things that I do, but I do this by having a plan every day. I have plans for fun, and I have plans for profit. but I have plans. So this is a very important distinction. The distinction between the life of someone who just kind of floats along and goes with the flow and a person who gets to where they want to be by making plans. You have to decide every day where you're going to go, what you're going to do. Otherwise, these days start to add up and you find that you've been a nomad out wandering in the desert somewhere. What happens is that if you don't have a specific target that you're aiming at, even a small one on a daily basis, then it becomes more of a circle than a straight line. Life can be a straight line right to your goal. Your goals of fun, your goals of profit, all kinds of goals. But without that daily plan, knowing what you want to attract every day, then it becomes more challenging. Something else that I've found is very powerful is writing down goals. You know, I've been inspired by people like yourself, Joe, and by others to write down my goals. And I believe that writing down goals is very important. So I will write down my 1-year goals, my 5-year goals, and my 10-year goals. And I guess it's by virtue of what I do, of the type of environment that I find myself in. People ask me all the time, what are your 5-year goals? Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? I don't think that's a normal conversation with most people, but for me, it's a daily conversation. People always ask me, what's your 5-year goal? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Well, rather than giving a vague answer, I give an exact answer. I paint an exact picture for them. I tell them the type of house I'll live in. I tell them where it's going to be, the types of cars I'll be driving. And Joe, you yourself love wonderful cars. I tell them exactly what's going to happen. Those are targets for me. I know what's going to happen. I know where I'm going. And people who come into my life, if they want to come along for the ride, that's fine, but I'm going to this specific destination. I know where that is. They can be part of my life for a time or on an ongoing basis, but this is where my life is going. This is what I'm going to create, and this is what's happening. So I know just by writing down my goals, you can write down 1 year, 5 year, 10 year. You can even start with just one day. People who are new to this, they can just start with one day. You know, what are your 1 day goals? What do you want to create financially for yourself and in other areas of your life in 1 day? So to wrap up my daily habits for establishing a positive mindset, it would be the affirmations, changing negative thoughts into positive thoughts, knowing what I want to attract every day, and writing it down.